we have a very special friend here to talk about a strategy that I have wanted to talk about for ages, but I know almost nothing about it, except I know the tax part, like you label it mining. That's about it. But we have here the Crypto Rican Queen Mari, and she is a subject matter expert in crypto. She just was telling us that the last thing she needed to learn about was mining. And so now she's been doing that. And welcome, Mari.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure to see all the new friends, right?
Right.
And talk about my passion. Because again, you know that I'm passionate about anything crypto because I've been doing it for over 3 years and I love everything about this space and the opportunities that it brings to anybody from anywhere. So,
Right.
yeah, right.
Let's start off with, how did you get into crypto mining?
So I've been planning to mine for years. Why don't we just talk about how I got into crypto? Because remember, it's only 5% of people in the world that are in crypto. That's 95% of people that it's not. So in 2021, I started hearing a lot about crypto and XRP and Bitcoin and Ethereum because it was a bull market, what we call a high market. You know, everything was booming. And I decided to start buying some Bitcoins and Ethereum. In the summer of 2021, I also took a bot trading class, which we'll not mention anymore because, you know, some of us are.
Yep.
And then started teaching, and that was it. Now, speed up to this year. Again, I already knew about crypto mining. I just was waiting for the right time to start. And I know that's weird because most people don't start in a bear market. Bear market is a low market.
Right.
But because of the price fluctuations of these machines, I'm like, oh, there's no excuse anymore, right? So I started mining 2 weeks ago. So I'm like, just started 2 weeks ago.
I see.
Like new.
Why did you put it off so long getting into mining? Like, you've been doing crypto for 3 years.
Because, for example, I got 3 miners. One of the miners that I wanted a year ago, that miner was $30,000 when it came out. And it was actually basically people were buying it to flip them. And that miner was, even though it just came out, was sold out and people were selling 50, 60, 70K.
Wow.
So because the miners fluctuate with the prices of crypto space, all the miners that I wanted were so expensive. I didn't feel like I was going to get a return of investment right away,
Right.
going in at that time. And so now everything we've been over 900 days in a bear market. And so a lot of miners stopped mining.
Right.
Because Bitcoin, by the way, especially Bitcoin mining, not all the things you can mine. Let me actually explain that. Only the proof of work cryptos like Bitcoin is what you can mine. So example, if you want to mine XRP, XLM, or any of this stuff, you can mine them because they're another type of consensus mechanism. So again, it depends on what you want to mine, but it was too expensive. It was too expensive for that, even though anything that I buy is part of a business, which is another thing that is really cool, right?
So what kind of business structure do you know is the best to set yourself up as a business if you're going to do mining?
Yes, an LLC with S corp.
Yeah. The S
LLC with an S corp, because I've been doing a lot of research in this area. You know why? I made a lot of money last year. I had to pay a lot of money for my taxes. So I have an accountant that is a crypto and normal accountant, and he said it's good to have a LLC and have a 503, like not for profit, because you know, with any kind of business, so that you can actually move money, you know, between those, because when you donate to your 503, you know, not for profit, it's not taxable, right? So that's another subject, but
just brief tax detour. In my understanding, the S corp means that you are not having to pay the self-employment tax on top of your regular taxes that you would pay if you were in a sole proprietorship or in a LLC.
Exactly.
Yeah. So definitely, if you're going to do mining, get yourself set up in the right business structure so you don't have to pay more taxes than you need to. Okay. So you've been in it for 2 weeks. How hard is it? What do you do?
Well, let me explain first what is okay, so there's 3 kinds of miners. We got area zone 1, 2, and 3. Okay, the 1 and 2 are not too powerful. the more powerful, the more energy these things like suck. I'm gonna be very, very straight up here. So I actually focus on the area 3 miners because they're the most powerful. If you're gonna be competing, I'm like, go big or go home, right? Just saying, right? So every miner that I have is an ASIC miner. And I wanted to explain that. Basically, an ASIC miner are specialized devices designed for efficient cryptocurrency mining. New miners should opt for an ASIC capable of mining various coins for flexibility and buy hardware after securing a digital wallet to store their earnings. Joining a mining pool, let's see, you can mine solo or you can mine with a pool, but it's more advantageous to mine with a pool. Can boost the chance of success. Profitability hinges on the mining cost being lower than the cryptocurrency's value. So it's vital to factor in expenses like electricity and maintenance,
Right.
continuous market monitoring, and adapting to changes that are crucial as cryptocurrency prices are notoriously volatile, impacting mining profitability. So that's one thing that I wanted to say in there as a caveat. You know what the people are doing mostly that are buying my miners is that they're buying to flip them, because when the market goes up, like I said, these miners
It'd be worth a lot.
can quintuple. The people like sell them at whatever price that they want. So again, that's a way that you can buy an equipment and basically not have to do with the electricity part. Because I was like, I need to think about, basically I had to explain that to people, right? That's another advantage there, right?
Yeah, because I guess the resale or the used market can change a lot based on market condition. And so, yeah, like you said, depending if it's a good time or also based on supply, sometimes it's low. And so I guess, like you said, people will be willing to pay more to buy one in the
Exactly. This, I'm noticing that the stocks of miners are starting to go back to where we're out of stock again, because again, that's what I was going to say. If you want to mine Bitcoin, and Bitcoin next year is going to be the halving, where the mining reward is going to go to half, which is mean halving, right?
Right.
Your time is ticking because it's less than 200 days before the next halving in Bitcoin. That's something that is basically going to push all the market upwards. So that's another reason why people know that the bear market is just at the end. And as long as Bitcoin is above $30,000, you can make money with mining. Lots of miners sold their equipments after Bitcoin went down under that area, because then the price of electricity or whatever, unless you've been mining for years and you have accumulation, right, of that coin. Because what is the main point why I'm talking about mining? Because if an exchange goes, you don't care, because you're the exchange. You're mining cryptocurrencies. Think about it. You don't need them to buy crypto into Coinbase or whatever of these places. You are basically mining crypto, and you can actually do OTC. I don't know if you know, over the counter. People that have a lot of money buy over the counter, and the miners are the ones that do stuff like that. So there's so much about this mining as a business that it's amazing. That's another example there.
So are you mining Bitcoin specifically right now with yours?
Yes, I'm mining Bitcoin. I'm mining Litecoin and Doge and Kadena. Kadena is another one that is really, really good. The miners that work in a bear market and bull market are KDA, Kadena, and Kaspa, and Litecoin and Doge.
Because they have been going up. Miner for each of those?
So for Litecoin and Doge, is the same miner. So the newer miners, like example, the Bitcoin miner, you can, with a coin miner, you can actually mine Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, and some coins that are connected to that algorithm, because basically they solve algorithms as GPUs machines, which actually I got one here.
Yeah.
really, really close. You see, this is a big thing.
Yeah.
Based on, let's put it like here.
Yeah.
Based on really, really complex mathematical equations. And so it's like 15 pounds, 15, 20 pound machine, depending on the machine. And it doesn't really matter in the sense of whatever you're mining is. Some people mine what is most profitable at that moment, because you can change any of your stuff to another coin, right?
Okay.
And you get paid directly to your wallet. That's the other thing. I'm getting all my payments directly to my cold wallet, so I don't have to be connected to any exchange at all.
Right. So there's less market risk in terms of you get to control your crypto. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I'm still not sure if anyone who's watching this, if they understand what mining is. So what is mining? What is its purpose? Why is it a thing?
So basically, just think about mining gold, right? You need to what? Go to a place and get a shovel and then go like this and then just make a hole. Well, with the mining, you don't have to do that. You just have a computer that does it for you. The point of mining is to basically support the blockchain. I mentioned proof of work. Proof of work is basically a consensus mechanism within crypto, with Bitcoin or some cryptocurrencies, where these machines support the blockchain and have a decentralized nature about it. And so it's almost impossible to stop Bitcoin, really, because, basically you have all these machines around the world that are mining Bitcoin. So basically that's mining cryptocurrencies, but you don't need a shovel. You just need a computer, and then the computer is going to use electricity to solve those equation problems.
So the computer solves the equation problems, and somehow that means I've heard there's some kind of competition for Bitcoin. Like, how does that work?
That's why the mining pool or pooling solo is, again, depending on the equipment that you have. If you have a area 1 miner, which is very, very weak, right? And you're trying to compete with an area 3 miner, the mostly short person that is going to win is the third, right? The highest, most powerful ASIC miner, right? So some people are pulling solo because it's like a lottery. It's actually who gets to do the block, blockchain.
Right.
They're building the blocks of that system.
It's the person who gets the final piece of it that gets the reward normally, right?
Exactly. But if you're in a pool, you have to share that. If you're in solo mining, you don't share, but it's like a lottery. Most of the time, you don't make money if you're in a solo pool. Interestingly enough, in the last 6 months, 2 solo miners won the Bitcoin block in the last 6 months.
Wow. But there's a lot of blocks being published every day, right? I mean, only 2 have been mined by solo miners. So you don't want to do this by yourself, probably.
No, but it's not difficult to set. Basically, if it's a used miner, logically, you might have to do things like this, which I had to change the control board of one of my miners, the one that here I had to change the control board because it's not accepting the Ethernet. You have to connect these things directly to a router. So it's not like a Wi-Fi. I don't think there's a Wi-Fi miner. Right. But basically, when you get the equipment, you just find the device IP address. And actually, I help people set it up when they buy from me anyway. You find the IP address, and then you enter the miner's IP address, and then you can actually basically put the addresses where you're going to be pooling. Because every pooling site has addresses that you put in that configuration. And then you put, you're the worker, and then you put a password. And then in the mining pool, then you can actually see what it's actually making, right? Example, for Litecoin and Doge, I can actually get paid in Litecoin or Doge. I noticed that it will be more profitable for me to get paid in Doge. Because the Doge reward is higher than the Litecoin reward. Why? Because Doge is what? Cheaper. So when you're dealing with the miners that you can actually mine more than one coin, that's another thing that I recommend, because you do both. Get paid in the one that you're going to make the most money. I mean, it's logical, right? But
so the miners actually get paid whenever you send anything on the network. You're paying what we call gas fees, which is the amount of crypto that you pay to get it recorded in the block. And then those gas fees are divided up among the miners who earn that block. Is that how that works?
It's everything. It's not only the gas fees, it's everything connected to that block, right? Because remember, where it's a blockchain, they're finding blocks in the proof of work. So they get the block, right? And then they divide the block among the people in the mining pool. Right. So they get they get a lot of stuff, because it's a block. It's not easy to just do a block. There's difficulties in these machines. It tells me, like a sample, like I'm looking at my mining revenue and stuff, and it tells you in the bottom the difficulty of the machine. Like basically, is it 100%? Because sometimes there's some errors. The LTC hash rate is the power. The higher the terahash, the higher the power of the machine. Basically, the more powerful is the machine. Right now, my hash rate for my machine is 755 terahash. The pool hash rate is 144. Difficulty is 29.35 million. And the next difficult change estimate is 26.72. Yeah, that's another. It's like,
I guess whenever a block is completed, you will get a percentage based on how much you contributed to the pool in the past. few years.
Exactly. There you go. And that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
So how do you figure out if this is worth it or not? Like, how do you calculate the amount you're spending for electricity?
So
or the-
basically there's calculators, there's everything for everything, right? There's a website called whattomine.com,
Okay.
what to mine, where you can see the different kinds of miners there. So this is an example of one of the websites where it tells you it's whattomine.com, right? /miners. Here you can see, for example, a KS3 miner
Right.
in the profitability of that miner, right? This is a Kaspa. And by the way, most people don't know what is Kaspa. It's a new currency. It has actually been up in the last year. Well, it hasn't even been a year, over 2000%, just so you know. So this is the most expensive miner that I got. The KS3 is the most expensive miner. Right now, this miner is a little bit over $15,000. And that's cheap because the miners before, when the market was high, when we had a bull market, were $5,000 to over $100,000.
Wow.
Right now, the miners are $5,000 to $25,000 when
Okay.
it used to be 25 to 100,000. Think about that. I mean, crazy, right?
This
The
is
what?
saying it's earning $250 a day.
It
in
tells you
one-
the revenue for 24 hour. This is $249 for the day. So depending on the miner, the market cap, the estimated rewards, right? What is it? It's a very, very new miner. It just came out in August. So that's another reason why it's expensive. But here you can go into ASIC miners and then you can check the script. All these things that you see that are weird numbers, SHA-256 script. This is actually the algorithm to mine Bitcoin. This is the algorithm to mine Litecoin and Doge. Each cryptocurrency has a specific algorithm to mine it, right? So you can put, hey, my thing is 140 terahash, an example, and then my watts is that. So it tells you for each specific machine, right?
Okay.
So again, that what to mine is a really good place, and then you can see what people are mining, right? And the profitability of different kinds. And the power cost, logically, you have to put the power cost. So what is the power cost of any of you, as an example?
I have no
You know?
idea.
Let's put 12 cents as an example.
Okay.
So the power cost 12 cents. So then if I change this, because actually, think about this, there's people that have what? There's two kinds of people that I'm going to be contacting in the next month are people that have solar panels or Tesla. There's people that are buying crypto miners and putting them in their Tesla because you know the Teslas are what? Expensive, right?
Yeah.
So
right.
they can be mining as they're paying their car without having to pay that much electricity. I know it sounds weird, right? And the same
Yeah.
with the solar panels because these people have advantages on that. But anyway, you can see depending on the machine. Oh, and by the way, please, nobody try to mine Ethereum Classic because that's a waste of time. The old
Not
Ethereum, because you know
many
Ethereum
people
used to
are-
be a proof of work.
Right. And now Ethereum is a different consensus. handled
Yeah, it's
differently.
proof of stake now. It's proof of stake.
The-
So thereby you can't mine it anymore.
Yeah, the Ethereum that you actually can make money with that everybody uses is done in a different way.
It's
So
proof of stake. It's proof of stake now. And then let me show you the pool. So this is how it looks in a mining pool. When you're going to a mining pool,
right.
you can actually, this is an example, this is the mining pool that I'm doing. And then you can actually here choose the coins that you can mine. Different mining pools have different coins that you can mine. You can take every proof of work. You see, this is
Right.
Ethereum Classic. And like I said, it's just a waste of time, I think. This is what I was trying to show you when I was telling you, oh, look at this. The hash rate, the power, the higher the hash rate, the higher the power, the 15-minute hash rate. So you can see everything. I can see this in my phone and in my computer. The revenue. And this is what I was telling you that I calculated that it was more profitable to basically get paid in Doge. They have a minimum threshold. Once you hit that minimum threshold, you can actually get it automatically paid to your wallet. And then you can see each of the days hash rate in the amount of Litecoin that I'm actually mining.
Okay. Is
Doge,
it-
because remember, I'm also mining Doge or Doge.
Right.
You see the difference?
Yeah. You're earning whole numbers of Doge as opposed to just fractions of Litecoin.
Exactly. There
Yeah.
you go. You got it.
So when you're mining Bitcoin, the machine or the pool of machines that completes the Bitcoin block, they actually earn 1 Bitcoin. Is that right?
The blocks, well, the blocks earn us Bitcoin, but it's like, remember that the rewards are going down next year. But because you're in a mining pool, you don't get the whole reward. You get a piece of that reward, right?
Right.
Unless you're solo. That's what some people do solo. But then you're basically wasting electricity if you
Unless you
just
make it.
mining and you don't get anything. Because as you see with the mining pools, I'm getting a little piece of all that because I'm putting into that. I'm
Right.
basically helping build the system. So.
Right. So what else do we need to know about mining if we want to get started?
Well, I was wondering, like, did you set this up at home? Do you need a special setup for electricity? And then what about heat? I think it also can generate a lot of heat.
Good question for the, okay, so if you're outside the United States and you have 220 volt, a lot of these machines use 220. Now, depend on the power source unit. So machines that I have can actually be connected directly to 120, right? Which is the other thing. So that would be a special setup. If you get one of those machines, you need to basically get an electrician to change that so that you can connect directly to your electric socket. And what was the other question, Guillaume?
What about heat? Like, do you need a special location so it doesn't get too hot in there, or like special room, or?
Yes, because it's very noisy and
Oh,
it's
sure.
hot.
Mhm.
By the way, my husband was cold last night and he opened the door where the miner was, and it's like, okay, we don't need to put the heater because there's like little heaters here. So yeah, it depends on where you are. There's people that are using this to actually heat themselves at the same time that they're basically making money. I mean, it's amazing what you can do with these things. I hope that I answered the question there.
It's probably good, like where I'm located, because in the winter, that's an extra source of heat.
I find it fascinating. There are companies out there who are using the heat from Bitcoin miners to dry seaweed and timber and other industrial things so the heat isn't wasted and they don't have to spend the electricity to heat for their process. They're kind of getting both done at the same time.
Exactly. Again, what we can do with these machines is amazing. Like here in Texas, I always have to insert Texas because I'm Texan. Here we're taking flare gas, right? The gas that
That too, yeah.
is coming from the ground to basically use to power miners and all kinds of cool stuff that are green technologies to help the environment at the same time that we're making money. Because if you don't know, making fiat, making a dollar is more harmful to the environment than actually mining a Bitcoin.
Really?
Just want to throw that there because people want to say that Bitcoin is bad, and I'm no, it's not.
I saw a presentation on it a couple weeks ago at the Pacific Bitcoin Festival, and they were saying that Bitcoin is so transparent about its energy usage that everyone's like, oh my God, they're using energy to mine Bitcoin. But then, like every other industry uses so much more, like the airlines or the travel or like the banking industry.
They do.
Yeah,
They
it's
do. My husband is gonna set us in solar because that's the other thing. He's like, what are we gonna do? You know me, I learn something, I do it, and I throw myself in doing it. So it's like, I'll let you know in the next 2 weeks how much is the electricity, but at the same time, it's like, I'm not gonna just keep doing that anyway. I'm just gonna be like adapting to basically do some green technology, of course,
cool.
and make money, right? We can do both. We can do both.
Right. So what's your favorite thing about mining?
I think that I can actually mine 2 things or more with one machine and change it to anything. I think the number one thing that I like about mining is that it's going to be a point that I'm not going to be dependent on the exchanges. That's the main thing, because after all the exchanges that went out, and by the way, Binance, I think, is another one that is actually, because I was talking about Binance before, that there was some dubious stuff. And then this past week, remember, there was a whole crazy thing about Binance. A lot of people had taken their money out. A lot of the times that everybody lost money unnecessarily, it was these exchanges going down because they don't care about any of us. They're there to make money. So I think that's the number one thing. I said, don't buy crypto, mine it. Don't buy crypto, mine it.
And what's your least favorite thing about mining? Or do you have
the electricity? Straight up the electricity, and that the machines change with the market, the price. That's one thing that, of course, as a business perspective, that's not bad. But at the same time, I want everybody to have a miner. I'm like Amazon. I want a miner in every house, right?
Better than Alexa. So speaking of that, I do believe we have a link that we can drop in the comments if you're interested in following up with Mari and purchasing a miner, getting involved with that.
So I was gonna adding that right now. So I was curious, do you ship to United States only, or are you able to buy from
Anywhere.
other countries or?
Anyway, because I'm a distributor and my supplier is in China, and it takes a week. I can actually send anything to anywhere, basically, as long as I have a stock.
Yep.
So
think
what I
about-
do with my clients is that they pay me through PayPal. Why? Because PayPal has what? Buyer's protection, right?
Oh, right.
And then I actually order with cryptocurrency that way, because if you send cryptocurrency to somebody that you don't know, right,
Yeah, that's
they can steal your money.
scary.
And
Right.
so anything that I do with any of my business is PayPal
Even though
to
you have to
basically
pay
have it
the
tracking.
fee, right?
I don't like that, but it's a point of me giving people basically,
Peace of mind.
calm to do business with me, people that don't know me and stuff like that, so buyer's
Right.
protection.
Just to be clear, with the machine you sell, it's like kind of standard equipment, meaning that you can go online and find out what are their performance and how much energy they consume and how much you might expect.
Yeah, most of the machines that I sell are new. Yes, I can get people some used machines. The new machines have a warranty of 2 years, right? So they have less upkeep than me having to change a control board like I have to do with one of these, right? I wanted to do both because, again, my plan in the next 5 years is to have a mining farm, right?
Okay.
And so there's going to be people like, offer other services, cloud mining, because there's people that just buy example, they buy a machine and they don't want to do anything with the machine. They just want to get the reward. So they just pay a facility to mine, which is called cloud mining. And thereby they just get their cut, right? So that's one of my plans. And
Were you
again, if you don't want to buy the miner and you want to flip it, that's what most people are going to be doing.
I was in
You
a
don't want to
group
waste your gas.
last year and the guy was actually buying miners for people. They would pay for the miner and then he would mine it for them at his house. And they actually burned up their electricity going to their house because the miners overpowered. It was too much electricity for that line or whatever.
Yep, you have to be careful with that again. Because I was going to overclock my miner, the things that you can do to make the miners more powerful, like overclocking. And I don't want to get into the technicals of that. But if you overclock or underclock your miner, you can burn your
House down.
so you have to be careful what you do. I know how to do it. And I'm not going to do that until I'm sure, because again, you're talking about electricity and stuff that, can be scary if you don't know what you're doing. So
And they run
something
all day
else.
long, basically, all day, all
They
night.
run every day, all day,
Yeah,
all day. You hear this, think about the sound of a machine, like a fan.
yeah.
Yeah, I was going live and my audience in TikTok and social media said, oh, that's too loud. So that's why I'm here, so that you don't hear the miner in the background. But I mean, mining is a complete different feeling than buying it. We still pay every time we buy crypto in exchange, we're paying fees for buying it, right?
Right.
So they're making money off of us everywhere. When we buy, when we send it, they just want to stick it to us everywhere. So it's like, if they're going to stick it to me, I'm just prefer stick it to me so that I can actually get my coins myself. And then imagine taking this and mixing it with taking part of your reserve and actually bot trading it
Right.
to balance out the reserve. Because the other thing, if you start in a bear market or whatever, it's starting, of course, we're at the end of the bear market, then you might not be profitable because also the prices of the coins
Or
are,
less.
are connected to the profitability of mining. So
Right.
interesting. So what do you think about mining? It's not as difficult as it looks. The most difficult part is to find the IP address of your device. That's
And
the
you
most
help
difficult part.
people.
And then everything else it's not that difficult. Because again, I want everybody to know how to do that. So I basically help people to set their miners anyway.
Right.
So
That was another thing I was going to ask is, do people, when they buy a miner, they have to pay it all in one shot, or do you have like a monthly payment plan or anything like that?
for the miners, no, just one. I mean, that's what I was thinking about that, because I knew you were going to ask me that. There's some places that you can rent to own, but these equipments are so expensive. If you do that and somebody stops paying you, what do you do?
Oh,
You see
yeah.
what I mean? So it's like, no. What I do is that if somebody buys more than one equipment, I give them a discount because I'm a distributor. It's my right to do that. That's how I kind of like make it. Because usually when people buy a lot, miners, some people buy 5 to 10 of these things.
Wow. Yeah.
If you didn't know, because some people have farms.
Right.
And if they have old equipment, again, because I sell new, these things go out of stock really quick. Once the market goes up, I might not have any stock.
Right.
So that's another thing. And the prices go up considerably. So I had to put in the page, prices change.
Right.
That's why I didn't want to do a page, because it's like every day the prices change. When the market goes up, you're going to see the amount of difference in the prices of the miners
Right.
that are going to be 20,000 and higher.
Right.
All of them. Just like that in a blink of an eye. Crazy, right?
All right. Anything else we need to cover?
Basically, the only thing that you have to do is just keep up with the mining pool. The mining pool, you don't have to do that much, but sometimes your equipment needs updating. But again, that's the reason why, depending if you buy a new equipment or you buy a used equipment, what is the advantage or disadvantage of having, logically, the used miners are way cheaper.
Right.
But if you have to change every little thing, like this little thing,
By the parts.
this things are like $20.
Wow.
And so I had to change that. The thing is that the Ethernet was not accepting that. I couldn't find the IP address. If you can find the IP address of this miner, you can't connect into it.
Right. Right. Right.
Again, the difference between having a new machine and having an old machine is completely different.
But
So,
when the halving is coming, you won't need to change anything. It's just that the rewards will change automatically, I guess.
exactly, the rewards would change. Nothing that we say here is financial advice or accounting advice or tax advice or anything. If you want to mine Bitcoin, be sure that you have a new miner.
Yeah.
Because again, when you're looking at the new miners, you can actually mine Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin, how you call it? They're Bitcoin
Related,
coins, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
But normally your equipment
You-
might need like maintenance over the years, but the algorithm that it's doing, like you said, also they might, if you have an older equipment, it might not be as good for the future.
Yeah, because they use the same algorithm, SHA-256 for Bitcoin miners. That's not going to change. What changes is the machine's powers and what they
Yeah.
can actually mine, right? So
Yeah.
they don't want to change all that, because imagine you have to then, how do you keep a network if you're changing the algorithm every
Right.
year, and then every miner has to have a different algorithm? That's why I show you the different scripts, they call them, the different algorithms, because they have different names. SHA-256 is for Bitcoin, and depends on what you're mining. Mining is like a whole different feeling. I don't know how to say it. You understand what I mean? Like, it's just being able to see that in your phone, right? And see what your machine is mining you is like a whole total different feeling. Even with the electricity, even me paying the electricity still.
Yeah.
Because when you start buying crypto and DeFi and buying crypto everywhere, you start seeing that there's a lot of fees everywhere,
Right.
right?
Right.
You guys that deal with all that stuff, and it's like, dang, they're trying to get us everywhere. I'm like, I should have done this a long time ago. Yeah, like this summer, I lost $15,000 because I joined some kind of multi-level marketing scheme, and they went down because a friend invited me to that. I'm like, dang, I could have actually have another miner or whatever for that, instead of wasting my money and sending money to people that are, because you give the keys to your money. Don't complain if you lose your money, right?
Right.
Or you leave your crypto in an exchange, right?
Yeah. And the exchange disappears. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming today and talking to us a little bit about miners. If people have questions, you can always send them to us and we'll forward them to you, or contact you directly, obviously through your page. We've got a link in the comments if you're interested in checking out more about mining. And I think we just put a link about whattomine.com. Link is also in the comments. So you can do some of your own research, like they say, do your own research. We are here Tuesdays and Thursdays at 4 p.m. Eastern, talking about crypto taxes usually, but we also like to talk about crypto investing strategies. And this is definitely one that I did not know enough about. So thank you for coming today. I think that is it. So I think we're going to sign off.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mary. And yeah, if anyone has questions, contact us and we'll
Thank
get
you,
back to
everybody.
you.
See you guys later. Take
All
care.
right, see you later. Thank you.